Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying with us here on SABC News. You're watching SA Today with me, Flo Dwamba. Well, the United States and China, the world's two largest emitters of carbon dioxide, unveiled a deal to ramp up cooperation tackling climate change, including by reducing methane emissions, protecting forests and phasing out coal. The framework agreement was announced by U.S. climate envoy John Kerry and his Chinese counterpart at the UN Climate Conference. Let's get us an update. We're now joined by correspondent Laura Makin-Isherwood, who is in London for us. Well, a very good afternoon to you, Laura. What is the gist of the U.S. climate envoy, together with their Chinese counterparts, input really on the issue of tackling climate change?
Well, essentially, these two nations are saying that they are now going to work together in trying to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions to such an extent that it'll actually hit the 1.5 degree target that has been set here as the kind of goal for the COP26 summit, trying to bring nations around the table and getting them to come up with pledges and plans that will allow that goal to be accomplished. Now, until China kind of got on board, it was a bit less likely that that was going to happen, because China, of course, a huge emitter of carbon dioxide. It's got a huge reliance on coal-fired power plants as well. And given that China's President Xi Jinping didn't come here to join leaders at the very start of this conference, there was a lot of criticism sent that way, along as well as at Russia's President Vladimir Putin as well. So now this announcement that the US has actually managed to join with China in coming up with some kind of framework or plan to make this happen is being received as really good news here. However, the details are very scarce. So what this means is not clear just yet, how it's going to be implemented. It's simply a diplomatic agreement, it seems. Bilateral talks are taking place, but we might have to wait a little while to find out exactly how it's going to be enacted.
Well, Laura, I mean, it's all good and well to now be, the heroes when it comes to dealing with climate change. Of course, I'm specifically talking about the US and China. But was there some sort of acknowledgement on the part of both these countries that they have been the two largest emitters then of carbon dioxide, as you say, and I just find it quite ironic that they would now be taking this big brother role in telling other countries how to deal with the issue of climate change. So I'd really like to know if there was any sort of acknowledgement that we have certainly been wrong in our past and have contributed significantly to what's happening in the world currently.
Yes, certainly, and definitely US President Joe Biden stood on the stage last week and sort of apologised for his predecessor, at least, Donald Trump's actions, pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord, saying it was wrong, essentially, and he wants to make a demonstration now that he is going to take America forward and trying to move it into a more green society. He's taken on this pledge to lead a number of countries in cutting their methane emissions by 30% by 2030, and that will be a big contributor, at least in the short term, to reducing that greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere, and also, of course, temperature rises as a consequence of that. So definitely the US is looking now to try to push forward with these plans. However, none of this is legally binding, and that's a big issue, because no matter what countries say here, we have to see in the coming years whether or not they actually put those words into action. And that, I know, is what the UK COP26 presidency is really pushing for now, as negotiators are around the table in these final days trying to get an historic deal, as UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson calls it, over the line.
All right, Laura, thanks very much for your update today and giving us your time. Much appreciated. That's Laura Makin-Isherwood, correspondent, speaking to us in London there, where, of course, the United States and China, the world's two largest emitters of carbon dioxide, have unveiled a deal to ramp up cooperation tackling climate change.